Ethos of Silence.
A veteran podcast aims to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster community support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys.
Welcome. If I could ever come across somebody who's good at it and likes messing with it.
I can do a TikTok dance
we'll
or something
see.
with you. If that'll help raise it. We'll do a TikTok dance to raise money. And for every
Whatever, man. Put on your zoot suit. Get on dancing.
I have a Santa Claus Christmas suit I will put on. It's in my closet at my house.
Okay,
So,
cool.
On LinkedIn, one of the videos I saw was this Marine. He was on a self-propelled treadmill.
Okay.
All right. And he was like, he's running like a beast. He looks like a freaking little soft guy, right? Because he's a little short, but he's stocky as all get out. They have to custom make the uniforms.
Oh, wow.
And he's running on this thing, and he's like got what looks like a AT-4 anti-tank rocket propelled unit, but it's all made out of weights and two-wheeler iron. So he throws that off, and then he's got like something else he picks up, and then he's got like a couple 45-pound weights that he's like picking up, and he's running.
Is hilarious.
Yeah, he's looking like a beast.
Wow.
And all I could say was, if you think that's what infantrymen look like, you are so deceived.
No way.
Dude, I'm 150 pounds carrying a 125-pound rucksack alone, not on top of all the other gear.
Yeah.
And this dude's, I'm like, no, that's not how.
That's not it.
The average guy's struggling.
Yeah.
We don't look like that.
Well, we didn't struggle. It was in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you started struggling, somebody's picking you up.
And
And you didn't want to be that.
that's the ethos.
Yeah.
That does hit on the ethos. Welcome back, Ethos of Silence. KG here with me.
What's
and,
up, guys? Welcome back. Thank you for joining.
And let's pick up where we left off.
All right. Where are we going to?
I don't know. Where were we at?
So the
So
struggle is that you got back from that deployment. We got back from that deployment, and at that time, so this is 2000.
Okay.
Right before 9/11.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
where were you on 9/11? That jumps us right past that deployment on everything
Yeah.
else and into a new chapter of stories.
So-
where were you September 11th?
September 11th, we were doing EIB training.
Okay.
Expert infantryman badge. For some people, they know it as a long rifle. We were doing some training for that. All right, getting ready to go test out and get our EIBs. I remember in our squad bay, we had these old 3-story barracks.
Yeah.
And all the NCOs that were single lived in the first couple rooms. They had the bigger rooms. So there was an E5, I think it was an E5 or E6. He had his door open in his room, and all you hear is an explosion. You know, we're thinking, oh man, we're in there, we're working on a 240 Bravo machine gun, breaking it down, doing all that, and we hear this explosion, and we're like, what the hell is that? It sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
It really did. It really sounded like a movie. Next thing you know, it's like he comes out, and he's like, dude, towers just went down. The one tower, I think it was North Tower.
Yeah.
First.
Pretty sure it was.
I think it was North Tower that went down first, and I saw the second tower,
so.
South Tower, go down, and because we were standing in the room, we were like, "Holy shit! Wow, shit just fucking hit the fan." But we didn't know how. I mean,
You didn't know the repercussions of what was about to happen.
Yeah, we didn't have any clue. I
No
mean,
information, no insight of what's going on. It's just all hit you right there.
it's raw. It is
Yeah.
so raw at that moment, and we I want to say within 3 hours, Fort Bragg being the post that it was open. I mean, civilians would be driving through Fort Bragg because that's how big of a post it was, and it was
Yeah.
open. Within about 5 hours, everything was closed. Like, unless you knew a fire break or you knew a secret way to get onto Fort Bragg, you weren't getting on there.
Wow. Everything's just locked down.
Just locked down.
So you're on Bragg. You now have received this information, and now you know everything's on lockdown. What's your unit? What's the next response from your unit?
So, commanders are getting called in. Nothing big yet because of the fact that you got to understand something big like that happens and it's that raw.
Yeah.
Post commander is getting down with the division commanders, and the division commanders are going to start making decisions. Being that we're airborne qualified, we're infantrymen. We still had special forces down the road from us.
Yeah.
And they're getting ready. They're going wheels up. We know that's going to happen. But for us, it's like, okay, it was raw, it was hard. I called my wife, made sure everything was okay, but we didn't know what was going to happen at that moment.
Yeah.
We just knew that something happened. We just didn't know how the effect was going to be.
Wow.
I would tell you within a couple months, 2001, we kept training, but we started hearing the news, the circulation of, okay, somebody's going in.
Yeah. So
That was
when
everywhere at that
when
point.
did you go into Iraq?
So I went to Afghanistan.
Well,
you
just
went to
know,
Afghanistan?
that was everywhere at that point. Not
Yeah.
just your unit. That was because I was in at that time. So that was engineers units. That
Yeah.
was even special forces.
that was
up there from
everybody.
us. Everybody was on this segment of time where what's going on.
Yeah.
We know something happened.
Yeah.
What's
Hurry
next?
up, stand by, and wait.
Hurry up, stand by. You change, getting jerked. Maybe I'm going. Maybe I'm not going.
Yeah.
And so I just want to tell you that was everywhere.
Where were you stationed at that time?
Rapid Deployment Unit, Fort Lewis. Combat
Lewis.
Engineers, Triple Nickel, I Corps.
Iceland.
Yeah, and so we had their units there were ready to deploy or do whatever mission. We had striker brigades there. We had
Yeah.
Apaches. We had First Special Forces Group,
Yeah.
and a lot of others. I can go down the list.
Yeah.
But coming from us having small contact with them is like you said earlier. We knew those guys were getting ready to leave.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and they were already.
Wheels up.
Yeah, they
They're
were gone. And we were still kind of in the rear with the gear going, okay, it's coming, but when is it coming?
Yeah.
And what are we doing? And where are we going, like you said earlier?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So now you've been in for a while. You've progressed a little bit, and you're in more of a leadership role than what you were for your first deployment. What's your second deployment look like from a leadership role? Where'd you go?
So I was
Good training, some workups for that stuff.
I made it to E5 sergeant.
Okay.
And funniest, just to backtrack that a little bit, before I made E5 and went to before I went to the board and everything, I actually talking about how hot North Carolina was, had a heat stroke
Okay.
and went down. I had 100 and what was it, like 108 core temperature. I was coming off of a 12 mile road march we were doing for EIB.
Yeah.
It's the last event. Coming in, I was 200 meters from the finish line. I went down.
The doctor
Wow.
said you're supposed to be dead right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not, though, in fact.
Dude, I wasn't dead. I was like,
It just shows they don't know nothing.
yeah. But no, it was like they were like double sticking me and everything.
Yeah.
I went to the hospital, spent 2 days in the hospital.
Did you get a tube up the rear?
No.
You didn't
You
get
know
the
that was
silver bullet?
training, right?
No.
All right, good.
You know the silver bullet do? Holy crap. That's the first thing
No.
you teach in combat school. If you can't get a vein, he goes, pull the pants, go down,
Right,
silver bullet.
right.
I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
No.
I was this close to doing it in Iraq with one guy, and finally got him.
No, they hit me with they double IV'd me. I mean, they hit me with, now they had to, I will tell you this, to get the core,
Yeah.
pants down.
You got to do pants down. You
Pants
got
down
to cool it
core,
down.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even cooling down. It was pants down for the temp check.
Oh, yeah, right, of
so
course.
it was like, holy cow.
Okay.
I don't even remember that. And the medic that actually saved me,
Yeah.
I went to PLDC with him, leadership school. I went to PLDC with him, and we talked about it. And he was like, dude, you're lucky. You're so lucky.
Did they ice pack the vertebra or the spinal cord going up to your brain at all? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Wow, and you survived through that.
Yeah.
That's actually the
It was
out of in between. That's where the ice pack's supposed to be the most importantly. And
but
here you are.
I mean, I made it through that. So
Yeah.
fast forward, the word came down that we were deploying.
Okay.
And you got to understand, Army's in transition. Okay, we were still in old BDUs, the Greens. Okay, they came out. They're like, all right, when you got your deserts, the new desert. Well, it's not the new desert, but the new desert for us because it didn't have the chocolate chips in
time,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you knew you're going. So they're like, they started issuing out deserts, and then next
TCU time.
Yep. And then coming in,
This seems mighty similar to the first time you get these orders, you're going.
yeah, but I mean, the first time we were in BDUs and we had flak jackets. Now we're getting DCUs, we're getting the boots. I mean, it's a complete outfit. From, from when we initially came in. They handed us credit cards, not us personally, but our company was getting a credit card. They're like, no limit. Find out what you want, what you need, get it. And so we ended up we started talking with different companies like Black Hawk and stuff like that, getting gear from them, and we're going out testing their gear out.
Really?
Yeah. And then my time, I went in 2003. So
Okay.
marksman in the infantry line platoon. Okay, you have 4 squads, first 3 squads are going to be your line squads, and your last squad is going to be a weapon squad. Okay. Usually consists of the weapon squad was like 240 Bravo machine gun, and then you had a gunner, you had an ammo guy, and then you had a guy who was AG, assistant gunner. Then you had a squad leader. Your line squads consisted of 9 guys each, 2 teams. Staff sergeant was the squad leader, and then your 2 teams were built on a sergeant or corporal, depending on their capabilities and what we had. And then you had a rifleman, a saw gunner, and a 203 gunner. Okay, the saw gunner was going to be the guy that's like in the team on the squad. That's who's laying down that base of fire. We came in with M14s. That's when we went back and started bringing back in M14s. That time, and I remember because they went when we got
M4 or the M14.
The M14. We had M4s as our rifle, as our standard rifle, yeah. But they brought in M14s. I forget who makes them. I can't remember who made them. Springfield Armory was a maker.
Yeah, that's a military contractor. So
yeah, so Springfield Armory started sending us these M14s, and I'm talking like no polymer stocks, no add-ons, straight up out of the crate, looked like it came from Vietnam. M14 with the wood stock.
With a wood stock.
With the wood stock.
Thank you for explaining that to people. People don't understand. You're getting old weapons.
We're getting the stuff. I mean, the packing grease on it was still fresh. They were beautiful to look at, but you're getting something that's coming from way back.
Great wall hanger.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to reach out and touch somebody, that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still tried and true.
Yeah. So when they brought them out to us, and I'm just trying to get perspective because people are like, oh yeah, we had polymer stocks and we got all these attachments we can put on them. We had nothing.
Yeah.
And we're going out there. We're like, all right, who's best shot? Whoever scored expert, on their marksmanship, they're going out to be a rifle. They're going to be what they call a designated marksman. Mm-hmm. So you go out there and everybody's shooting. Next thing you get your designated marksman, and then they're putting. We had ACOGs first edition ACOGs. They're trying to mount them up. So you had your iron sights, and then you had this long bracket that sat above. Yeah. Because you got to still be able to see through the iron sights. You had a bracket that sat above that, and you put your ACOG on top of that.
Yeah.
And then, the guy in the prone position looks crazy because his head's all craned out when he's supposed to be like really low. He's all craned out, looking like a crane, trying to shoot through the ACOG.
Where are you guys doing this fire training at, this qualifying?
We did it. I mean, we had multiple ranges on Fort Bragg where we could shoot everything from, standard range was 50 meters up to 300. Mm-hmm. And that's how your normal range would go. But we had long ranges for our snipers because we did have sniper teams within the battalion.
Cool.
So they'd go out there and they start training. You're shooting at 1,000 meter plus.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing at this time with giving you these M14? Are they just getting you ready for something? You're not taking them over with you.
No, we did.
Wait a minute, you took those over with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're training with them. Of course, they're going to take them.
Army does some kind of off the wall stuff. I mean, my mind was going to we're going to get them, some fire training heavy, get them kind of tough skinned, and we're going to send them over and issue them another weapon. You took these weapons over.
Yeah, that was. I mean, outside of the Marine Corps, because I don't know how the Marine Corps was, but I mean, I wish the Army would do the same thing as far as when you join, you get your initial issue, and you get your weapon issued, your rifle.
Well, honestly, and I've thought about this a lot. I really wish that basically when I went through recruit training that I bought a brand new weapon and that was my fucking weapon. Like use my money, buy me a new gun, and that is my gun. Yeah. And I go through training with that thing. Yeah. And then if I end up being a saw gunner or any of these other different things, sure, you can issue me that. Right. But I have my M16 that I bought when I went through recruit training. And then if the military upgrades the weapons or whatever for qual, hey, you're offering me to buy a new gun? Cool. Yeah. Whatever. Here. Yeah.
No, it was...
That makes way too much
sense. Because then I have my service weapon, and it's my weapon.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, for us, I probably went through 3 rifles while I was at Bragg. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, they were all M4s. When I went to Afghanistan, I actually had a 4x scope that was like... I went down to the arms room because they're like, okay, we only have so many ACOGs. Yeah. So, squad leaders are going to get ACOG. Marksmen are going to get ACOG. And the first sergeant and the commander obviously are going to get ACOGs. They got to look cool, Yeah. And I mean,
pictures.
Yeah, pictures are going to look great on for the politics and stuff. So, but the command structure that we had at that time. So we came back from Kosovo. Command structure we had at the time changed out. We actually had, first sergeant was Panama. Company commander had some time behind it, but he had no combat experience. But the first sergeant when they talk about NCOs being the backbone, that first sergeant made sure everything was on point.
That's awesome.
And that man did not dick around with you.
Speaking of We Were Soldiers, it was that first sergeant on We Were Soldiers, remember? Yeah, Sam Samuel.
No, he was Sergeant Major.
Sergeant Major.
Yeah.
Good morning. What's good about the morning? Yeah.
So that, I mean, and that was so if you see him in that role, that was my first sergeant.
Awesome.
Nice.
But he was so cool to talk.
to
Like
know.
he was real laid back, real easy to talk to. But I mean, when he put that uniform on, and the man stood right about 6 foot, and he weighed like 300 pounds because we were doing PT with him one time. We were doing like fireman carries.
Oh, no.
And I had to carry the man. And I was 150. I was 150 pounds carrying a 300-pound man for like 25 meters. I was like, dude, you just broke my knees.
Yeah.
Take us back. You've got the M14s issued.
Yeah.
You've done your training.
Yeah.
You guys have done all your cataloging to process to make the deployment, dental, medical, whatever it be.
Yeah.
Continue on with that. What's going on?
They do. So we do all our processing, go through medical and stuff like that. Commander was on a trip to make sure that everybody was on point because at that time, and again, this is not real old school, but old school for me.
Yeah.
That we had a crack house off of one of our barracks buildings that they were making crack. Just to give you a perspective of what kind of army we had at that time. It didn't go unnoticed. It was broken.
Did he say crack?
Yeah. Like heroin. They were cooking heroin off the barracks building. Okay. At one point. And they busted
this podcast.
They busted everybody.
Yeah.
And they all got their own. But the commander came out and he's like, hey, you're going to do drugs, you're out. You're going to be involved in some stupid shit, you're out. You know, I'm only taking the best of men to go over and do this.
This is a whole separate podcast about how drugs have affected the military. Yeah. Unbelievable.
But anyway, I want to cut that short. So we go through processing and everything like that. It was so surreal because it's like you wake up every day, you go to work, you do PT, you change out, go to, whatever training you got to do for the day, what your work day is like. To wake up and be like, this is the last time
This is it.
I woke up, had my bags packed, and my wife drove me to work. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Kids at this time?
2. My oldest one and my youngest one was born in 2002.
Okay.
So, 2 kids.
Yeah.
Wife drove me to the barracks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dropped me off, and we went through weapons issue, got all our stuff together. Caught buses out to Pope, because Pope's our neighbor. Caught birds out to... We chartered some birds. I forget where we hijacked them at. And I'll use that term. Yeah, we hijack. That's what the Army does.
I'm familiar with that term.
Yeah, we want to go someplace, we hijack it.
Yes, we do.
It's ours now.
We need equipment in Iraq. We just
That's
so,
it.
It was surreal. It was
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm going someplace. And this is my second time.
Yeah.
It was still that way.
Oh, it's that way every time.
Yeah. And so we got on the birds, flew out to... Got out to Germany, swapped over, hit some C-17s, and C-17s took us into Kandahar. Flew into Kandahar and hit the ground there. We did what they call right sea ride. Okay. We got some basic, we set up the talk and stuff like that for the commanders and everything. And then we started doing education on etiquette, language. We did some language training, some etiquette training, culture training. And... we just started training.
Yeah.
It was like, and it wasn't like, oh, we haven't done this before. It's like almost, if I could give you a picture, you've seen Black Hawk Down, they're out on the range. The Rangers are out on the range. I mean, of course, we had all our gear on, so it's not like, we had boonie hats and we're all cooled out, but we're out on the range, and that's our daily life. It's just firing, and just getting on point with our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took 4 days I had a little Garmin GPS that I carried with me. And it took 4 days for the Garmin to catch up. But I mean, and that's, we had GPSs at the time, and my time was like when we first got a GPS, it looked like the old cell phones, the big bricks. So when we got GPSs for the military, the first Army GPSs was like, it was this big, huge brick, and you had like these big buttons you had to push to get your coordinates in. It was like, wow, this is crazy, man.
The idea of where we started and the technology that's in our pockets right now is
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, and so when I talk about, you know, hey, yeah, we got issued these M14s from Springfield. Springfield's like, yeah, you can have them.
Nice.
And now they're tricked out with the polymer stocks, and they got all the accessory rails on them and stuff like that. It's like, dude, you don't know where we came from to get to this point.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to Kandahar, in process and in brief there, and first hit was going out to Shkin Fire Base. Shkin is a little town. It's about 6 kilometers from Pakistan.
Okay.
What separated us from Pakistan was a wadi. If anybody isn't familiar with the word wadi,
They don't know.
No, they don't.
Tell
But
us.
when you think of a wadi, think of the Grand Canyon. You know, several hundred feet deep. You're going to have a river running through it, you know, during the times when it's temperate. At the top of it, you're going to have probably 1,000 meters, maybe more of distance from your piece of land to the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nothing to play with. It's not like you can hop, skip, and jump and build a bridge over it. No, you're traveling through that thing. You know, we got to Shkin. The Army had leased out a compound that we had taken over. It looked like a little castle, dude, because it was like 4 walls. It had little towers. You know, it was serious. Seriously, inside the compound, it was a farmer's compound, so he had like an animal house that he kept all his goats and sheep and stuff like that in, and then he had other buildings set up for, you know, living quarters and stuff. We came in there and we just converted it into our little castle, and that's where Alpha Company, 3rd of the 504, you know, 1 platoon lived out of there. We had other platoons deployed out, and I can't remember all the places that they were out at because I mean we're just spread around. But we had 1 platoon at Shkin, that's where I was at, and then we had ODA team from Special Forces. They were out there with us, and then we had some other guys.
So let's jump into what it looked like to be an NCO leader on, you know, this deployment.
So as an E5, usually I'd be in charge of a team. When I got to Afghanistan, or when I went to Afghanistan, I became an ops NCO.
Okay.
So basically, I'm running the operations center for our company. I had in charge. I wasn't a team leader. I didn't have 4 guys underneath me. I was like a squad leader. I had 9 to 10 guys that I was in charge of because I was basically the HHC guy, the headquarters guy.
Yeah.
Went in there and set up our areas. It was different because of the fact that now, instead of being the guy that like, okay, I got a squad leader that's looking at me like, hey, you know, you got all your stuff. No, it's like, now I'm the guy. It's like, do you have all your stuff?
Yeah.
When was the last time you brushed your teeth? Because your teeth look nasty. You know, the boots look horrible, man. You know, you better get some kiwi on them boots and get them shined up.
If you do not have a dummy cord on, you are wrong.
And you're laying, yeah, and that's what it was.
Oh,
You're
that
just
knife hand.
You got a
learned the
knife
knife
hand.
hand.
Yeah, I got the knife hand still. You know,
There you go.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as leadership goes, I mean, when I went to PLDC and I started learning, you know, going to school and learning the practical, you know, things about being a leader.
Yeah.
You go through the books and stuff like that. I had some great leaders at PLDC who taught me some great stuff. But the real leadership came down from the first sergeant, my other NCOs that I was with, you know, the staff sergeants and stuff like that. And it wasn't nice. It wasn't easy. It wasn't like, you know, hey, I don't feel like going to work today. No, you go to work every day, you know, unless you're like bleeding, dying, or something fell off of you where you can't get yourself to work. You went to work.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it came to, it wasn't an iron hand, because that's what some people may say was, oh, he's ruling with an iron hand. No. You treat them fairly. You motivate them. You get them to do what you want them to do through that motivation, and the mission's always going to get accomplished. So my guys, you know, they didn't have issues with me if I told them, hey, I need you to go pull guard, you know, at this point for this time. They're going to go do it because they know that at the end of that, they get the rest.
Yep.
You know. So yeah, it was pretty
That's
good.
awesome. What you got, KG?
He's checking the time.
Yeah, I'm just checking the time.
So
we're good, brother.
Yeah, I'm just getting. I'm getting a picture of where you're at, and you know, you followed your orders. You're there.
Yeah.
Which we're proud of you for doing that, and thank you
Appreciate
for your courage for that.
Appreciate it.
So, what did it look like coming back from there compared to coming back from your first deployment?
It was a little bit different. So, backtrack a little bit. when the first ODAs came back.
Yeah.
Okay, the first soft guys were coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hearing some stories.
Yeah.
We're down the street. We're the conventional guys. We don't usually hear stuff coming out of SF, as far as what they were experiencing when they were coming back.
Of course.
And some of those guys were coming out of peacetime because Army hadn't been at war since basically Panama, I think it was, or Grenada.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So we're still relatively, now we're at full blown war. These guys are coming back, and some of them, I mean, some of the stories you heard was pretty bad. It was pretty brutal. So when we came back, and so this, that was 2001. So we're looking at 2003 now. 2004 is when I came back from Afghanistan. It was a different picture.
Yeah.
Before we even came back, I had the opportunity to have Jeff Struker as my chaplain. He was serving as our company chaplain at the time.
That's awesome.
Dude's, and he's, when they say he's humble and he's cool, he even as an Army captain, humble as you can get out, and he cares about everybody.
Yeah.
Right on.
The man cares about everybody. So before we deployed back, they're like, hey, if you want to talk to somebody, if you think you're having some issues, you can talk to somebody. We're not gonna have any issues with it. We're not gonna give you any hell about it. We're not gonna give you any shit about it. If you want to go talk to somebody, you can talk to somebody.
Awesome.
So it was a lot different, and that was before coming back.
Yeah.
After coming back, it was back on the game.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know when you were going to turn around and go back.
So how long was that? How long was that deployment? Your first one was 6 months. How long was your Afghanistan?
So the Afghanistan deployment was 7 months.
Okay.
We actually got held over because the Air Force, and all their loveliness, couldn't find us an airplane to get us back off of Kandahar back to.
Gosh.
Yeah. So we got held over. And what was even funnier is because we're going through customs, and it's like, okay, we want to bring this stuff back, but we cleared customs just fine. It was just the Air Force couldn't get us an airplane to come back, so it's like, all right, we're stuck here for a little bit longer. But that's funny because, and again, Army lesson learned. They extended the deployments. They started extending deployments. So it was like going from like 6 months when your initial deployments were going on. Now it's like 18 months.
Yeah.
Or they were going to I think it was like they went from 6 months to a year.
6 months to a year, extending a year out to 15 to 18. And there were some of these reservists that ended up going over there that I've even had on the podcast that they keep getting extended because they don't have somebody to rotate and relieve them. It's like, what is going on? Yeah.
So, I mean, it was fortunate for us. We were able to cut it short.
Good.
We got home, I will say not everybody came home.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some guys that, they ended up staying there. And I'm not talking alive either. I'm talking they were bags.
We got you.
Yeah.
Here's to those guys.
We're tracking.
But coming back, we came back and it was back on. Mission was back on. So when we got back, funny thing, they're like, oh, yeah, the word was we can't redeploy within a year.
Okay.
I think that was old Army knowledge at the time.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Yeah, so
You're only off.
Yeah, you're supposed to, and again, they were calling in every reservist, every guardsman to go start because they knew how big this was. And at that point, now we're fighting dual war because
Iraq and Afghanistan both kicked off. Yeah.
Well, Iraq kicked off in 2003 with the
March
invasion.
2003.
So, right as we were actually in country at that time, I think, when Iraq kicked off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were already doing a different battle. People don't know that either.
No.
They don't know what was going on.
And all the media focus. So initially Afghanistan kicked off. Everybody's out there. Okay, the media's covering it like crazy, and then Iraq kicked off, and Afghanistan fell off the map.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I remember a politician flying in. We were still at Skin Fire Base, and the senator is like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna fly in." We're like, "All right, cool. We've had it before. We've had some stars come down and they want to visit us and check things out, see how the fire base looks, and see what we're doing. Cool. This guy wanted to fly up to the Pakistan border and land at the border. Now, it's not like the Pakistan border, the border to Afghanistan and Pakistan. It wasn't like there was a big fence or big wall. It was a barbed wire fence that the Pakis were moving every night so that we couldn't bomb or insert into enemy territory.
Yeah.
Literally, we had a house on a hill in Shkin. We were watching it, and we couldn't hit it. We couldn't even and just dead seriousness, they couldn't even get an Air Force pilot to throw a bomb into, because it was like 2 kilometers in. You know,
that was pretty intelligent. So they moved the line to say, this is Pakistan. You're not.
We can't.
Wow.
They had crossing points, border checkpoints, and I spent a little bit of time up in one of those border checkpoints. But the rest of the country, you know, it wasn't like, you know, an invisible line. There was an actual barbed wire fence running down the country in that section, and his politician wanted to land there. And I'm like, you're the idiot. You're an idiot for wanting to land there, because you're calling out all of us to get outside of the wire to go deal with this.
Yeah.
Just so you can have a stake and, you know, be like, yeah, I was in Afghanistan.
Did you think this through? Yeah. So did you guys have anybody that came and visited you while you were there? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gary Sinise, anybody?
Actually, no, I didn't see USO tours when I was there. When I was in Kosovo, got to meet Selma. I can't remember her name. Selma
Hayek?
Yeah, Selma Hayek.
Really?
Yeah, got to meet Selma Hayek. And then if you ever watched Wonder Years, Wonder Years was one of my favorite shows. The young lady that starred on there, she showed up in Kosovo on US. They came together because my friend, he was like, I gotta go see Selma Hayek. I gotta meet her. Yeah. It's like, nah. But yeah, Afghanistan.
But nobody came. Yeah, and you were hearing about the other USO troops going into places and Dallas and what was the other ones? Dallas cheerleaders and
Dallas cheerleaders were making their move all the time because they're just trying to get the political points.
Yeah, and hats off to them. They were the first ones in LSA Anaconda when it just got established. But they were still doing bombings around, you know, the DFAC, and I mean, we didn't really have complete security of LSA Anaconda. I mean, the fields were fixed and the Apaches were still not getting browned out, but you still got guys in trucks that are going out, and they got this down to just an art. They drive out, you know, half a mile, pull up a mortar tube, shoot a mortar, drop it, and then where are they? They're gone. They're in a flash. Yeah. And the rules of engagement, which you very well know, you guys know, is trash at that point. So so helicopter pilots were obviously getting a lot better at identifying which was going to be something going on. So I mean, they did good.
Yeah, I mean, on where we were at, that wadi, they would drive down into that wadi, and basically they had a mortar tube, and they didn't have a base plate or anything. They just stick that thing in the dirt and start popping. Wow. And Mortar Joe he visited us every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mortar Joe?
Yeah, we called him Mortar Joe until we got him.
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
Because he was lobbying in so much, and the rate of visitation increased, you know, because of the fact that Afghans and nobody that understands in that area, they don't fight in the wintertime. Really? They camp out in the wintertime. They chill out, right? Because it's too cold. It's really too cold to go fight. So here you are, you're doing these patrols and stuff like that. But as soon as snow thaws and it starts warming up, them boys are on.
Yeah, because they don't have cold weather gear or any, and they don't normally do. It might be tradition too.
I think it's tradition that they don't fight in the winter.
So you got this wire between Pakistan and you got it where you're at in Afghanistan. So the direction of the enemy, are you talking about give me an insight. Are you talking about it's one direction, or are you guys at a spot where you're could be facing enemy from every direction?
We are circled. So where we were at, it was flat for the most part. We did have a small hill, okay? And I try to look it up on Google Earth because I want to see where where I was at. But that little section right there, I know we had like a hilltop because we used that for our firing range, our backdrop for our firing range, and then we had an LZ set up alongside of it. So, but everything from where we were at going into Pakistan, which was east, it was flat. So, I mean, if you were really good, I mean, the terrain didn't roll too much, but if you're really good and we had a FLIR set up. So this is, again, Army's learning things. We were taking FLIRs off of Apaches and setting them up on tripods up in our guard stand. And so you're looking into Pakistan, you know, and you can see the minarets and everything like that. Well, you can see the minarets with the naked eye, okay, just how close you were. Yeah. But that FLIR, we could see everything going on in Pakistan. So you could see everything that was coming from Pakistan.
That's okay. And that's what I was really trying to get an idea of. So you have a defined enemy line.
Yeah.
And
you're good. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So everything to the rear of you, friendly. And then everything in front of you?
Well, actually, I wouldn't even say that. Everywhere. You had no defined line. There was no defined line. You're in an outpost somewhere out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so
you had a defined idea of where Pakistan was, and that's about it, right?
That's all we had. Was we knew there was a wadi right there. That's our line to Pakistan. That's it. But everything else is open.
Was there a population of people behind you? I mean, I know you mentioned villages, but was there a town surrounding? Was there
So
what did it look like?
Yeah. So Shkin, the town of Shkin, it's an actual town. It was populated. I want to say, probably about the size of, I don't know. You might have had a couple thousand people there.
Okay.
Okay. But the land spread out. So people are spread out too. So it's kind of like, it's hard to get that population count. But you actually had a defined town because they did have a marketplace. So you go to market and they would do trading and stuff like that and do all the buying. So you definitely had that there. And then you had a couple stores in the area, but it wasn't like anything. If you're familiar with like Brokerage or something like that, it's like really small. It was more like a hamlet, because you had some of the basic stuff there. You had a market. But again, you're talking third world country where, they don't have shopping malls and, freaking all this other stuff that we have.
Was there any definitive, was it like Mortar Joe, for example? Could he could have been somebody in the town?
Oh yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
So
you don't know who your enemy is. You don't know who your friend is. They knew who we were.
Well, sure.
And see, that was another thing that came about was we showed up and you see all these guys in tan and, we got our gear on. I mean, and we were kind of mismatched too, because that was another time when they started doing an initial issue of like, we had the black fleece.
Okay.
You get this black fleece, it makes you look like a freaking, you're like a black dot. And you see many of them gather together because, you have the black fleece. We didn't have like, all the cool stuff that they got now. We had Gore-Tex and stuff like that. Yeah. But, we got that second initial issue of stuff, and it was like, okay, it was all mismatched. Our desert, we didn't have, like, everybody didn't have the desert cover for their Alice packs. We didn't have Molly at that point, but so we stood out.
Yeah.
And then after we got done, when we got done with that, the Army changed its training and it changed its mission to where it was going down to small unit tactics. And I'm talking like the team, you got 4 guys in a team. They're being inserted into an A&A platoon, and they're working with that A&A platoon to conduct, raids or conduct, missions within that A&A platoon, or they're conducting patrols. So now, you have special forces whose primary mission is to teach indigenous forces how to fight. Okay. We're not taking away from that mission, but they're helping us because they're broadening our mission as far as we're going in and working with the A&A.
Yeah.
I mean, our special forces teams were busy because they're trying to hunt down, Osama bin Laden. They're trying to find him, and they're trying to find all the guys. Yeah, so they're tied down. We're going in, and this was after we left. So, within a couple rotations or so, these guys are going in and they're starting to doing small team stuff.
Where you're based at in Skinner there, how far are you guys driving from your unit to do these raids and these frontline missions?
So, 2 things. You do a drive. To drive like to Pakistan, it wasn't a straight drive. You got a rough road. When I say rough, because you don't know what the road looks like versus the rest of the dirt.
Yeah.
So you had a rough road. It would take you at least 45 minutes to an hour to drive 6 kilometers, which is about 3 miles and some change. Okay. Almost 4 miles. Doing any foot patrols, you really had to, you would have basically a vehicle team that would insert a foot patrol team, and a foot patrol team would do, you could do anywhere from like 3 to 5 miles.
Oh, wow.
Of foot patrol, and you would do it.
That's what I was getting to right there.
So you could walk from the fire base, but you're walking out and open. You're straight up targets. Even if you separate at 5 to 10 meters away from each other, which was the standard, you're still targets because you're out in the open. There's no cover, no nothing.
That's what I was going to ask you next.
Yeah.
So you're doing your missions and you're doing 4 miles into a mission and you're out on the front lines.
Yeah.
Was there ever, if you want to share it, was there ever any incidences where your plant, and I don't know what your units did, if they went during daylight and then returned, were there any incidents that
we
did stay overnight or anything?
We did 24/7 patrols. Okay. We'd have breaks. So you might have a 3-hour break, but you would have, within the platoon, you'd have a squad or a team go out. Okay. We started off with squads because that's traditional Army. You go out, you're doing a patrol, you set up a patrol base for a little bit, and then, you continue moving your patrol around. But you break it down to team levels. Your team get inserted, we take vehicles out, insert the team, drop them somewhere, and then, you go conduct your patrol. And when you were doing your patrol, you're just, looking for stuff. Outside of that, you don't know Kosovo was kind of like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Afghanistan was the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
There was no, you don't know who's friendly. You don't know who's enemy. You don't know who's working for you. You don't know who's working against you. I'm serious. I mean, we had laundry kids that were burning the CIA's clothes. They would come in and work in our camp, and what they were doing is they were doing OP work, right? They're conducting recon inside the camp, figuring out what the camp's laid out like, right?
So the people that were working for you, and you don't know.
You don't know.
It's the same thing in Iraq. Same thing. Did you also have the same people that were actually true supporters of you guys?
Oh, yeah.
And that wouldn't come back the next day? Or you'd be like, oh, I know that guy. He was good. And he's telling you his family's in fear because he was helping you guys. I
mean, we had interpreters. We had an interpreter. He was fighting the Afghan Soviet war when he was a teenager. He told us at 15 years old, 12. No, he wasn't 12. He was 12, about 12 to 15. He was a young kid, picked up an AK and started fighting the Soviets.
Yeah,
him. And then he's coming to work for us as an interpreter, and it's like, I mean, you just watch him, and I mean,
what a risk they were taking.
They were taking a risk. Not only that, but I mean, you're talking about some warriors that didn't have like conventional training or anything like that. These guys were like brutal.
Yeah.
They caught up with the guy. We caught this guy, put him in like a little prison, and they were doing some interrogating. Okay, we had ODA team that was out there, soft team that was out there working on him, right? And they're doing their thing. We didn't see it because it's not for our eyes. So, but we know what's going on.
Yeah.
The dude dug his way out of. I mean, because we had everything in Afghanistan. It's like mud. It's a mud building.
Yeah.
This dude clawed his way out of that, escaped. The ANA caught him because we had an ANA company in the area. They caught him. When they caught him, they beat him almost to death. But we needed him for the intel because they were trying to extract intel from him. But when they brought him back, dude was beat to a pulp. And it's like.
And that was actually probably them being merciful.
Yeah, that was them being merciful because they knew they had to bring him back to us. But the dude escaped us, and it was like, he almost didn't make it back. But
oh my gosh,
So that being said, when I got back,
it
was different because of the fact that there were resources, though it was still kind of under this whole cloak and dagger thing. You could go to somebody, but we don't want to know about it. We're going to turn and look away.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that can infringe upon the company commander, the first sergeant, or the upper chain of command.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any final words of wisdom to wrap this up? Any final story you want to get into?
Let me see.
I think we should be doing another episode of Jonois, like episode 1, 2, and then there's a 3 here.
There's definitely a 3 here, but yeah.
So
he's not hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to thank you for being here.
No, I appreciate you guys.
People are going to be intrigued to hear your story. I know that I am, and I personally want to thank you for being here with us today.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah,
you guys are awesome.
definitely.
And Tim, man, I like the way you guys look. It's so sharp. The beard's rocking. Right. You got to rock that beard.
I hear you.
Yes, indeed. Guys, we want to say thank you to Mr. Jonois for joining us today. We're going to conclude the podcast, and we want to thank you for being here with us. Again, if you need any information on how to contact us, reach out to us, support us. We could use a new camera, by the way. Just get back in touch with
all
us.
our contact information is going to be in the details, along with all of the information to help with any of the suicide stuff, any of the other stuff. It's all going to be there. Just iron sharpens iron. We'll catch you next time.
All right. If you need more information on veterans benefits, please visit our website at VFW Post 4224.org. That's Victor Foxtrot Whiskey, Post 4224.org. All of our contact information is in the description of the video. Please email us if you have any questions.
Ethos of Silence.
A veteran podcast aims to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster community support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys.
Welcome